All right, lots of news on this Friday about Hillary Clinton. A new batch of emails from her private email account were released by the State Department today. Some emails about the Benghazi attack were included in the disclosure. Nearly simultaneously, the Clinton campaign released information on her health, and her team just released 8 years of joint tax returns for both Hillary and former President Clinton. Ed Henry has been following it all. He's in Miami, where Clinton spoke earlier. And Ed, does Hillary Clinton's team ever think about giving the press a Friday night off?
No, there's news dumps all the time. I mean, I think in this case, they deserve some credit for being transparent about both her taxes and her health records. I just spoke a short time ago with Dr. Mark Siegel from our medical aid team here at Fox News. As you know, outstanding doctor, outstanding man. He says he was surprised, pleasantly surprised as a doctor, that there was more information than he expected from Hillary Clinton's team about her health condition. Bottom line from her doctor, you won't be surprised, says that she's fit and healthy enough to be president of the United States. On the taxes, a lot of information we're still pouring through about her speech income, about how much she's paid in taxes. But there's no doubt, as much as I want to say they get credit for transparency, there's no doubt what was behind this. They knew that they were going to take another beating today about the emails being released by the State Department. Specifically, there's even more classified information we learned today in her personal server, contrary to what she said. So it's very clear that that was part of what motivated them being transparent on these other issues.
Jedediah, why don't we start with you and go take it around the table?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously to me, Ed, it looks like she is trying to control her news cycle here a little bit, and I think it's a good strategy. My question to you is, do you think she can successfully do that? Do you think by releasing this information and showing some segment of transparency on some issues that people will kind of forget her lack of transparency on others?
Well, some people are going to move on, there's no doubt. And they've also effectively almost bullied the New York Times on some of the mistakes they made. And it was legit for them to push back against the New York Times for saying there was a criminal investigation when that was not true. But there was still a lot of pretty remarkable information saying that two inspectors general believe that Hillary Clinton has classified information in her server and want at least a security investigation, if not a criminal investigation, down the road from the Justice Department. That's still major news. But since the New York Times has backpedaled, a lot of other news organizations are not really pursuing that anymore. So to your point, I think they've been pretty effective about pushing this email thing to the side. However, big caveat, if the Justice Department moves forward with anything in the weeks and months ahead, especially as we get closer to Iowa and New Hampshire, they may try to push the email thing to the side, but it's going to be front and center.
Hey, Ed, you guys might still be pouring through the information about the taxes, but lucky for us, we have someone who understands finance and is a math whiz. So Eric's got a couple questions.
Eddie, I'm looking at it. They paid the Clintons since 2007. So what is that, 7 years or 8 years? I guess 7.5 years. They have to pay partial income tax this year. But $43 million, they paid $15 million. They donated $15 million in charity. They paid another $18 million in state and local taxes. I do some backhanded math and back through it, and they've made probably somewhere upwards of $125 million in the last few years. Pretty good to be Clintons.
Yeah, it is. And I think that they are going to have to deal in this campaign with the fact, and this is part of them trying to deal with it from a message standpoint, that she's talking about being a champion of the middle class, and she's obviously nowhere near the middle class. The way they push back on that is saying, yes, they're putting on the table. The Clintons have made a lot of money, are not far from their roots in Arkansas now, but that she's pushing policies that she believes anyway will help the middle class, contrary to what Mitt Romney was pushing in 2012. Now, Republicans are going to have a lot of time in this Fox debate in a few days, as well as in the campaign ahead, to tear apart her policies as they wish, and maybe say they're not going to help the middle class, but at least that's the case she's going to make to the American people.
Gutfeld.
Hey, Ed, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I go back to this inescapable problem with Hillary is that the more you know, the more you think know. She's like a bag of candy corn. After 10 minutes, you feel queasy. Hillary's
it's a little bit like getting to know you.
Yes, exactly. To me, in my opinion, Hillary's campaign is so dead that Planned Parenthood is trying to sell parts of it. Does Bernie Sanders make Hillary look more moderate? Like it's like me standing next to Dana. I look taller.
Look, I think Bernie Sanders has given them a bigger scare than they ever thought, because you would think that a socialist Democrat would be pushing policies that are so far to the left that he wouldn't gain any traction. But instead, what we've seen Hillary Clinton do is react to him rising in the polls in Iowa and New Hampshire by continuing to move to the left on a lot of big policies. And so she's starting to take that challenge perhaps a little more seriously than they first did. And yesterday I reported that there was a little concern in the Clinton camp about what are the intentions of Vice President Joe Biden. His top aide was spotted having breakfast with a big Democratic fundraiser. I'm told by people in the Clinton camp that they were wondering, is Joe Biden going to get in here? Is he trying to figure out, whether he can raise a lot of cash in a short amount of time? The Biden camp is downplaying. The Clinton camp is telling me they're not worried about Biden. But I think the bottom line is various Democrats are now re-looking at this race saying maybe she's more beatable than they thought.
Nothing makes me laugh more than people in Washington having a strategic breakfast so that they can be spotted and then talked about later. Juan, go ahead.
So, Ed, let me just go back to the very top. There's nothing here that was labeled as classified on her servers. It's still the case that she can say there was nothing there that was either labeled or routed in such a way that I violated or broke the law. Because I think that's important to understand. That's her defense. That's what she's been saying. And most of these emails at this point have nothing to do with Benghazi. It looks like, peeping Tom pleasure and, oh, this is what Hillary Clinton said and did.
It's a court
order. Is that what it boils down to?
That's not exactly true. I mean, there is some Benghazi stuff coming up here. Nothing that's some major bombshell about Benghazi, but they do come up in some of the emails released today. Libya, the security situation. There's at least one email I saw from Ambassador Chris Stevens. Again, nothing I saw that was dramatically new, to your point. However, you are right, Juan, that at least so far, there is nothing showing that there were classification markings on the emails telling Hillary Clinton, don't look at this. This shouldn't be on a private server. However, the criticism from the inspectors general and outside critics has been, as Secretary of State, maybe she should have had a better idea.
Yeah,
maybe
I agree
she should
with
have
you.
shown better judgment.
Yeah. I think that's
right,
a fair criticism. All right, so I have one more quick question.
Can we go over to Eric?
I just want to point something out. The reason why the Benghazi stuff hasn't come up yet, because this is chronological, and the first two or three document dumps are the beginning of the Hillary Clinton tenure as Secretary of State. We haven't gotten to the timeline of Benghazi. There's plenty more to come.
Well, let's see what comes. But so far they've had a little, and there's nothing. I mean, this is supposed to be. This is why it was requested. Nothing there. So that's why I say it looks like voyeurism to me. But here's the big question.
It's not voyeurism if a court tells you that you have to release the documents.
At this
That's
point,
a court. Voyeurism would be like a hacker going in.
No, but at this point, then, so why are we? If that's the case, Dana, look for stuff that has to do with Benghazi, not that has to do with her going to the hairdresser.
That's what the court said. The court said they have to be released because she shouldn't have had the private server in the first place. Ed, let me ask you something. Have you ever asked Hillary Clinton, as President of the United States, in charge of all federal employees, would she tolerate a government employee having a private server in their home and doing government business on that server?
Well, I suspect she'd say it would depend on the circumstances, because in her circumstances, she
She'd have to
thought
say
it was okay.
no.
Yes, to.
You want to avoid a document dump?
Except
don't
she
need
did
documents.
Hey, Ed, I had one quick question
we gotta
for
go.
you. No, I got one quick question for Ed. Ed, in the medical stuff, it doesn't list her height or her weight. Why is that?
That's totally fine with me.
I don't know. It's only a page and a half, and maybe they didn't want to get into detail on it.
But you don't need to know that.
I want to know her height and weight. What's your height and weight, Dana Perino?
Juan's
I
building.
think that women across the world will agree no one needs to know that. All right, thanks, Ed. Still to come, Facebook
Juan's
Friday.
complaining about voyeurism, and now he wants to know height and weight.
Okay, great point. Thank you. We're going to do Facebook Friday next. Greg's got a stack of questions. We're going to answer them. But first, what's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist? The head of the DNC was stumped when asked that question, and her answer, we're going to show it to you next.